fans, and welcome to Round 8, Season 1 here at the legendary Silverstone circuit in Great Britain. And we're going to be doing 46 laps today. It's the Prime Meridian Racing League, and it's 46 laps of thunder here in Silverstone. I'm going to be in the booth all day today. My name is Trevor Greenfield, as you see there on screen. And just as we're taking a look at the overhead shot from the PMRL blimp of the circuit, the cars are actually on track right now, getting ready to qualify. In fact, they're already qualifying a few minutes in, so we will jump down to trackside, take a look at that, see where all of your favorite drivers are at the moment. We're looking at Connor Pearson, Wyvern Racing with O'Connor Moore, and take a look here as we get the timing tower up on the screen, and you can see it is 21 minutes left to go here in qualifying for today's race with Alex Salmon, your points leader. We'll talk more about the points here in just a second. Currently in pole position, 137. See a very difficult rejoin from another driver there coming on track during qualifying. But just as soon as we start doing the coverage, immediately we have drivers experiencing some issues out there. So hopefully we can pick up some of the closer action out there as we see on board with, or taking a look at Connor Pearson. He goes around the track. Just absolutely fantastic for me to get to do coverage here at Silverstone, one of my favorite circuits in the world. Legendary, historic part of Grand Prix racing going back so far, and part, of course, the original circuit was part of the British Air Force, so then being converted over after wartime into a road racing circuit and continually updated over the years. There's two different versions on iRacing, and this is the newest version that we're racing right now. So it's exciting to get to do a race here. And then, of course, who can forget most recently, as we take a look at your points leader right now out there qualifying on track, Alex Salmon. For those of you who caught the Formula One race just a couple of weeks ago, it was a lot of action going into turn one between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. We'll just leave it at that. Whoever you think was in the right or in the wrong there is up to you, but some might see it as a racing incident. Either way, tempers flared, and will we see the same thing today during the race? That is a good question, as Alex Salmon struggles with that lap, but currently in P1 racing for TM Racing. Of course, TM, Taylor Mills, she won a race here just a couple of weeks ago on broadcast. It was so exciting to watch. Now we take a look at Will Lyon, who has actually climbed up in the points with Alex Salmon's not fantastic finish, let's put it that way, last week. But with Lyon being able to pick up some extra points in the championship, that now puts him back up into second. And it will be exciting to see this battle continue between these drivers, as Lyon best lap was a 1:37.76. Looks like Lyon maybe getting held up a bit there by some traffic on track and then deciding to pull it off. Maybe gonna take another run at it. Another one of our championship contenders, David Soranzo's had a up and down season, mostly consistent running right in the top 5 through quite a bit of the season. Strong on the ovals, strong on road courses. It's really what you need when you run in a balanced series like the IndyCar series, both on iRacing official series and in the leagues, where you have to run ovals and road courses and be a master kind of both. And going back a ways in the real life IndyCar series, that's been the challenge that you've had to do. But Soranzo, one of those drivers, much like Lyon and Salmon, and also this driver here, Philip Lee, racing for Team Spirit Box, currently in 4th place here in qualifying, 1:38.09, so a few tenths off of pole position, about 0.4 tenths or 0.43 off of pole position at the moment. Sam Blackwood, another driver that's been up in the top end of the standings at various points of the race, but yet to see Sam Blackwood bring home that podium position. I think a lot of people sense that there is the speed, the pace over the course of the race, but racing incidents catching out Blackwood most of the weeks. Right now, Blackwood currently, as I mentioned, in fifth, only about a half a second off of that pole position, and currently last time by a 1:42.61. So I'm seeing a lot of these drivers not necessarily trying to put in their fastest laps. However, Alex Salmon, as you can see there on your screen, that purple lap indicator on lap 3 of a 1:37.663 will actually improve Alex's time. And so currently Alex sits atop the standings by a 1/10 of a second over Will Lyon. We'll continue to take a look at some of these drivers as they continue to circulate. Go along with Alex, see what Alex wants to do with the end of this lap. Perhaps we'll see another fast lap. Thank you for subscribing over on YouTube. Do appreciate it. For everybody joining us live on YouTube right now. Absolutely. James Lee joining us saying, go Philip. So family members and team members and friends joining us over in the chat room. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for tuning in each and every week here at the Prime Meridian Racing League. So Alex Salmon has a little bit of a moment there. Don't think this lap is going to be faster, but it's fun to ride around with your points leader as Alex attempts to put in a faster lap, perhaps. And we wait for Alex to finish the lap that he's on right now, but see if we can show some sector times up there, if that's helpful at all. So Alex at 37.66 last time, and we'll make sure that we, instead of the we do have the best time shown up there on screen. It's all part of getting the times correct. And why not? Let's throw a track map up there. That seems to be a popular favorite amongst those in the chat room. Easy to tell where your favorite driver is. All you got to do is look at their initials up there in the track map. So Alex continues to qualify here. Take a look on board with Will Lyon. Will, that time you see a purple sector the last time through, but not fast enough over the rest of the lap to be able to possibly take pole position from Alex thus far. It's exciting to get to do this much coverage as we see Matthew Levine now moving up into the third spot. Matthew frequently now as of late showing up in the top of the standings, and a real competitor at the end of these races, contender for the race podium and victory. So Matthew with a 38.03, 3/10 off the pace. I was just saying, it's really great to, as we go on board with Philip Lee, since we do have part of the Philip Lee fan club in the audience on YouTube, we'll just watch a lap around with Philip. Why not? But it's such a pleasure that PMRL's rules say that there is a 30-minute open qualifying session on road courses, and that's fabulous from a coverage standpoint, because we really get to see these drivers. So you see Philip Lee getting to back out of a lap here and about to set up for another lap. It's a pleasure because we get to see so many different attempts by the drivers, and we really get to spend time talking about each driver, and you just don't get that in the official series and in most of the other leagues that are out there. They only go with the traditional iRacing 8-minute qualifying format, which of course is really we're also used to it as iRacers. But really, it's, as Oscar Fredrickson there, we're on board live as Fredrickson does improve the time to a 1:38.03. So just slotting in ahead of David Soranzo and behind Matthew Levine. But we take a look back at Soranzo and Blackwood, and then Connor Pearson also now in 8th place, trying to get in a faster lap time. We also see this driver, Andreas Eick, who once again has the talent and capability any race to show up on the podium or at the very top in winner's circle. It's just one of those things with Ike in the field you kind of expect. I don't know if that's the right word, but you kind of think that that's a strong possibility at least once during the season. So all eyes on Andreas as we continue the season with 3 more races, including this one remaining, to see if Andreas can actually poke through and get that podium and possibly victory. I don't know if Andreas likes to do interviews, but it would be great to get Andreas on for an interview at some point. There we have Mark Johnston, currently in 10th, looking sharp in the PMRL livery, racing for SM Galaxy Racing. As I mentioned, looking quite good out there. And but 10th is probably not where Mark wants to be starting today's race from. Even though today is a reduced grid, I think a lot of drivers not participating as we get to this end of the season and possibly having some other commitments that are starting to creep up. But it's just going to open the door for some of these other drivers. And to be honest with you, it might be a little bit more relaxing for some of these drivers at the front to not have to go through as much lap traffic. It's part of racing, yes, and we do it all the time. We get full fields in a lot of different series that are out there. But to be honest, if you're out there leading and there's half as many cars, that's just half as many chances to run into somebody or have them hold you up and allow somebody else to catch you from behind, etc. So, see Mark continuing to circulate, and currently a 38.61 last time by, and previous fastest lap was a 38.55. So we'll watch to see if Mark can improve. Here's another new-ish driver to us, Max Hawk. And Max is very fast. We've seen some good moments thus far out of Max. We'll have to see if Max can actually convert that in race pace today. Thus far, no real big changes up at the front. It's Connor Pearson who's actually, as we show him in the pits there, it's actually Connor who has moved up into 3rd. So not much of a surprise there to see Connor with that pace being able to get in some good qualifying laps. Perhaps will start from the top 5 today. Philip Lee, in the meantime, with just under 10 minutes to go, 9.5 minutes to go here in the session. Philip Lee, that last time by, actually managed to eclipse Levine's time. So now 1:38.01 for Philip Lee. And Lee's is yet another one of these drivers. I say this, but truthfully, it's been Alex Salmon and Will Lyon, just really a few drivers that have been sort of dominant at the front of this, of the PMRL thus far in the, well, I guess 4 races that we've done now, 5 races that we've done since round 3 on broadcast here. And Phil is, you can see, winning vintage auto racing championships, so comes in with definitely some real life experience, but also extremely skilled here in sim racing, and just yet another driver that we're continuing to see pop up in the top of the standings, but just not really able to hang on to that top 5 each week. Still, we'll have to see if Phil can start to get some points here at the end of this season and really make a run up the championship points ladder. Currently running in 4th place and goes over those curbs, slides off the track almost on cue. Thank you for something exciting to happen here on broadcast. Philip Lee giving us a moment. Appreciate that. Back up front, we take a look, and it's Alex Salmon doing laps up at 142.93. I think at this point, Salmon, I don't think Salmon's necessarily trying to put in any qualifying laps. And so let's take a look at the, we'll take the track map off of the screen. We'll take a look at the weather at the moment. It is just 81 degrees on track, and you know, as it gets up into the 80s, there's actually about only an 8-mile-an-hour cross breeze. This is very mild temperatures for this day of the week, or excuse me, for this date, it being August, and this being Great Britain, and it being summer. It could be quite hotter ambient temperature-wise, but as it's been set here in the PMRL, it is 70 degrees ambient with 81 degrees on track, and that's, like I said, very, very mild. We shouldn't expect much in the way of tire degradation, and to be honest, there's really nothing keeping these drivers from turning in faster laps at the moment, I guess is one of the things that I'm trying to say, because we just saw Philip Lee a 38.02, and David Soranzo a 38.02. So as you see it there on your screen, it shows a 38.01. That's just the way that it rounds it a little differently in the software. But tied for 4th place down to the 100th, and then little faster Philip Lee that time than Soranzo. So Soranzo not done, Philip Lee not done, trying to qualify and improve their positions. We hope you're enjoying qualifying thus far for today's 46 lapper here at Silverstone. We got Gail H partying down in the YouTube chat room. Better get that track map back up there. It is popular, no doubt. Just across, I find myself the same way. The only problem with like in terms of being a fan, whether I'm watching these broadcasts or other broadcasts, yeah, I love seeing that track map because it really does give you a reference for where the drivers are, especially during the race too, when you've got multiple split strategies. Makes it much easier to tell kind of physically where your drivers are located on the track. The only problem with it is, as you can see, it takes up a chunk of real estate on the screen, so it's kind of like you got to plan for it when you want to pop it out there. But glad you're enjoying it, Gail. And of course, and then later on, James Lee noticing that Philip Lee having flying off the track and hitting the wall. I think perhaps James Lee and Philip Lee's pocketbook it got a little nervous when it saw Philip Lee crashing and possibly wiping out some, taking out some of that budget. But good thing is it's sim racing, and Philip Lee not in danger of damaging that pocketbook at all, and also not in danger of damaging himself. And that's, something else that is a real great positive to doing sim racing. Is that if you do crash, as we're under 5 minutes here, we're just watching to see if anyone else can put in a flyer. But if you do happen to crash, as long as you don't have one of those ridiculously cranked up direct drive wheels in your hands, and you remember at least to let go of the wheel, there's no damage, you're not gonna like suffer broken bones or anything if you go do a triple endo on the straightaway. There's no damage of loss of life or limb. So the beautiful thing is Alex Salmon can crash like that, and not only is the car not damaged, you just hit escape. You're back in the pits, you got a fresh car, fresh outlook, you can head back out there. So just one of the cool things about sim racing, and obviously it's saved endless lives, as we see Philip Lee spinning about there. We should have been watching Alex Salmon, who just put in yet another faster lap, down to 1:37.56. So, and 5.5 there on your screen. So weird that my timing and scoring shows me a different time in one space than what it puts up there on the screen, but that's, like I said, it's how it decides to round. But Alex Salmon increasing that time now up over 2/10 on Lion. Salmon just, I mean, not gonna lie, Alex Salmon has been one of the fastest drivers in this series since the day we started watching. I believe Alex was in the lead when we took over the broadcast starting on round 3. And it's been a little bit of a difficult ride for Alex, but there's been no questioning the pace from Alex Salmon. As we see down to a 37.55, Alex Salmon currently your pole sitter. We take a look over here at Will Lyon. As I mentioned, now up into second in the points, and that is great news for Will, because he's now within 20 points of Alex Salmon, and that means that anything can happen at the end of this season. So it will be interesting to see, and that's why Will Lyon here qualifying second. It's great because these two are your championship contenders. So it will make an interesting front row, and might we see some more sparks like what we saw in the Formula One race? Who knows? Hopefully not, though. Hopefully we get a nice clean race all race long. So take a look. Mark Johnston still on track. Michael Grossberger here. 24-year-old Austrian for TM Racing. Currently running in 11th. Grossberger, it's just another well-rounded racer who is excellent on road courses and ovals, and it's just another driver you really can't count out. I mean, you could go up and down this list. We had Thomas Klessens, who you see down there in 14th. We had Thomas on, or hopefully to be on for post-race interview after the podium position, but unfortunately Thomas was not around for that. Was kind of surprised Thomas was to learn that, and was just not really prepared to do the interview afterwards. But you better get ready for it if you're going to run up front like that, Thomas. And that goes for the rest of these drivers. That's, I think, one of the coolest things that I have seen in the Prime Meridian Racing League is we're under a minute here, and we're watching to see if anybody can go faster. That time David Soranzo does go faster, puts it up into third position. But that is one of the great things, is the level of competitiveness from top to bottom of this league. I've seen so many great racers. Basically, your entire starting grid there, any one of those drivers has a chance at winning here. And I'm not lying. They really do. Each one of these drivers is that talented. So we're just about to finish up qualifying. Will we see another fast lap from David Soranzo or Will Lyon? Soranzo, last time at 37.77, just off of Lyon's time at 37.76. So we'll go on board, as I think Soranzo is now actually pulling over. Going to call that one the end. Oscar Fredrickson also on track. Has trouble, decides that's the end of that qualifying session. On board with Andreas Eick, who's in 8th place, a 38.19, the fastest lap. Trying one more flyer here, but it looks like Andreas on the black tires. So this actually, now that I see that, is not going to be that fast of a lap. Maybe just getting a little used to those black primary tires, because although they are not fast enough to qualify with, you do have to use them in the race. And so it is important to understand how they will work during the race. Andreas out there currently, but I don't think he has a chance at improving. Mark Johnston sitting in 12th. Will we see a last second flyer here from Johnston? All eyes currently on the number 56 car, Mark Johnston. And that time of 38.54, so Johnston does improve the time. Unfortunately, not able to move up in position. And that's going to do it for qualifying as we await the final results here. Do have to wait for it to get finished before it will let us show you those wonderful results, but I'm sure you can guess who our pole sitter is. It was Alex Salmon, of course, with that pole position. Alex, currently your points leader, and so to hold points or pole position here is going to do him some absolute favors, being able to keep Will Lyon hopefully in check, I guess, headed into turn 1, and then manage the rest of the race with fuel strategy in hand as we await. There, finally, we can show you the qualifying order on your screen momentarily. And it didn't happen, did it? But I promise it will. Here it is on your screen, finally. I was like, the grid is set to show, but it didn't show for some reason. Anyway, Alex Salmon, your pole position leader of the points and taking pole position here at Silverstone with a 137.558. Second starting is going to be Will Lyon, and third, David Soranzo. Fourth, Connor Pearson. Fifth, Philip Lee. Sixth, Matthew Levine. And we watch some of these drivers take to the track here. So, seventh will be Oscar Fredrickson, and eighth, Andreas Eick. Ninth, Sam Blackwood. 10th, David Glass. 11th, Michael Grossberger. 12th, Mark Johnston. 13th, Max Hack. 14th, Thomas Klessens. And the rest are part of the administration team. So there you see your drivers on track right now. And so this is your warm-up happening. It's about 5 minutes long. We've got about 3.5 minutes left. We'll see who is the fastest thus far in warm-up. I think you'll see a lot of drivers. If you take a look a little bit closer at Alex Salmon, you'll see those primary tires on there. Alex just trying to get used to what those tires are going to do during the race and make some plans as far as how hard to push, maybe on that first lap. In the meantime, we'll take a look at the championship points here. Stand by on your screen. As we can see, Alex Salmon still holding the points lead, but not nearly as much. I said 20 points. I was completely wrong. I was looking at the wrong graphic. Apologize for that. 3 points separating Will Lyon from Alex Salmon. Will moving up 2 spots. And Andreas Eick also moving up 2 spots. So now currently sitting in the 3rd place. So this is not just a fight for Andreas Eick for the race win, but this is also Andreas as well as David Soranzo in 4th. Everybody with a chance in just 1 or 2 races able to potentially take the lead of this championship. That is, if the driver on your screen, Alex Salmon, doesn't have something to say about that and continue the reign of terror by Alex Salmon over the rest of this field. Because when Alex is fast and has the bit between their teeth, Alex is just practically unstoppable out there. So we'll have to see which Alex Salmon shows up for today's race. But if it's the unstoppable Alex, it may not matter what the rest of these drivers do during the course of this race to try to break that stranglehold on the points. So we watch Alex circulating there. That's Oscar Fredrickson. They're playing with the draft and playing with the cars, trying to see how the cars feel. There you see also Alex Salmon heading in as we switch over and take a look at Alex Fredrickson. There's, as we peeled away there, Alex making a pit entry practice attempt. So as we get down to 1 minute to go, we'll also take a look over at the current team standings. And it is TM Racing who is still at the top of this one. 394 points to SMS Racing, who still sits in second. 377 points, so ways off. But Wyvern Racing with O'Connor Moore climbing the ladder now in third spot. Also, Team Spirit Box dropping down a spot, not having the greatest finish last week. Slow and Steady Racing climbing up into the 5th spot. And Andreas Eich, your only Team Talent driver, now in 6th. A number of these teams also, represented by just like one driver. So if they sit out a race, it's difficult for the team to really maintain that. But nevertheless, it is Oscar Fredrickson here in this short session that has the fastest time, a 1:40.20. So if that means anything, look for Oscar Fredrickson to win the race on pace alone, because nobody else can seem to keep up. Just kidding, of course. Over in the YouTube chat room, Margaret Sewell joining us. Appreciate it. Go Philip, my nephew. Oh, you bet. Always great to have family members joining us over in YouTube, ready to watch live. And so, as you see things shifting on track, we are ready to go here. And we're going to take a look once again at the starting order. It's Alex Salmon going to lead us to green with Will Lyon second, David Soranzo third, and Connor Pearson fourth. There, the rest of your starting grid as the drivers start to head out there on the track. And I hope you're excited as I am. We are ready to get going, and the cars are gridding up. We are set for today's action here at Silverstone. So as the cars continue to grid up here on track, we get ready to go, and the pace car has left. So we're set for action. It will be Alex Salmon leading us to the green flag momentarily. We watch and they complete the partial circuit under the pace car. Stand by as Will Lyons is right next to Alex Salmon, and we get set for this start. There we go. It's Alex Salmon with an early jump, and Soranzo gets the jump on Pearson. So those drivers slotting front to back, and there Will Lyon goes side by side with Alex Salmon, deciding to back out at the last second with Soranzo around the outside. Salmon locks it into the corner, and Will Lyon gets ahead. Will Lyon locks it, can't hold the pass, and Soranzo now up into second with Alex Salmon in first. That a very costly mistake. As we can see, there is an incident further back. It's, I believe, Max Hawk? Mark Johnston, I'm not sure who was involved. We saw a lot of smoke a moment ago. We will go take a look at that in a moment. In the meantime, up front, it is still Alex Salmon, David Soranzo in second, Will Lyon in third, Connor Pearson now attacking Will Lyon in third. We may see that position change hands momentarily, possibly. It's Pearson all over the back, and speaking of all over the back, it's Philip Lee, one of the few Americans that is in this field, given a good challenge in 5th place. Looking inside of Connor and outside, not able to get it done. Meanwhile, Will Lyon just up in front, staying in the shadow of David Soranzo. And there Philip Lee pokes his head to the inside, taking a look on Connor Pearson, not going to get it done. Looking a little bit further back, it's Sam Blackwood up 2 spots thus far. There's that name to circle, potentially coming forward. And Andreas Eich there in 8th place. Michael Grossberger up 2 positions already in 9th, and David Gloss rounds out your top 10 at the moment. But Alex Salmon managing to break away as we see Soranzo with huge brake lock. Will Lyon just behind. Alex Salmon that time, of course, setting our fastest lap, a 1:42.20. .15. And we better get that track map up there. Otherwise, we're going to be hearing it from the VirtualRacing.Network live audience over in the YouTube chat room. Appreciate it so much, everybody joining us. You all have busy days, but where else are you going to find IndyCar action like this happening live except VirtualRacing.Network? And it's the Prime Meridian Racing League Round 8. We're on lap 2, and we're watching this great battle developing here. We've got Alex Salmon in first, but David Soranzo with Will Lyon all over the back. Will Lyon is currently second in the points, started second, made a move on Alex Salmon. It didn't work out. And Soranzo, the French driver, has made a move to put himself in position in second. However, Will Lyon back around the outside and Soranzo loses it. Just took it a bit too deep through the corner, and that was it. Spun it around, and the ill fortunes continue for David Soranzo, having the pace each week to be right up there in the front, but again, just not quite getting that consistency. So we watch Alex Salmon here, continuing on lap 3, just executing strategy. That last lap time faster than anyone else, 38.91. So starting to turn up the wick. Alex Salmon putting pressure on everybody. If you were going to feel safe through this one, don't think you're going to get away with it without paying the price. Alex Salmon out there and in charge. I mean, I'm saying that last lap, Will Lyon, of course, Will was fighting that last lap, currently not having to fight David Soranzo, but a full second slower last lap Will Lyon was than Alex Salmon. So those types of battles are very costly. As we see Philip Lee, Matthew Levine battling it out there for third place. And it looks like Phil Lee now up into third solidly. So Lee now claiming that third spot on the podium, very coveted. And of course, Lee being up in the points is going to want to capitalize on that at the end of the day. Matthew Levine now in fourth place, up 2 spots. Phil Lee also up 2 spots. Sam Blackwood up 4 spots. Watch out for Sam Blackwood coming forward in a hurry as we see Matthew Levine sliding off track in the background. Just did not get a great run through that corner. We'll see if we can find that. Go back and take a look. Matthew Levine just lost grip. I mean, it plain and simple. If we go back and try and watch it again, we'll be on board. And it just looks like it comes around on Matthew. Nothing that could be done. Comes to a stop, and just that familiar, you know, you're in that slide. You really can't do anything about it. And you just got to wait for it to end before you can drive back out on track. That's going to cost Levine heftily, and 12th place is where Levine finds themselves right now. So Levine back in 12th, but up in front, it is Alex Salmon leading Will Lyon. Will kind of possibly sliding back into the clutches as we see another driver having a problem. Who is that? Max Hawk having a problem, going sliding off track. Had just climbed up, I think, into the top 5. Close to, and then there, just similarly, just a real, it's hard to say what would cause something like that. It's very much like a snap oversteer, just driving in, and then it's just snap, and then it wants to correct. So perhaps those black tires not really hanging on the way that everyone thinks they will, at least Max. But Max had another moment a little bit later on. Oh, and they're losing it again. This time more serious. No, not quite hitting the wall. So anyway, so we go back to live, unfortunately for Max, back in 14th now, running just behind fellow countryman David Glass. And so back up front, nothing has changed except, if you take a look back in 4th place, this driver, Sam Blackwood, is on a charge. Coming up on the rest of the field very quickly. and look to see what Blackwood can do to go on board with Sam Blackwood. So Sam Blackwood currently running in fourth spot, and not disappointing us when we circled Sam's name ahead of the broadcast, saying that this could be a driver that would come forward here, and we can see just slowly creeping up on the back of Phil Lee. That last time, not actually faster, actually 2/10 slower, but holding pace with the rest of the group. We'll have to see whether or not Sam can continue to get those fast laps and move forward. In the meantime, up in front, it is Alex Salmon. Absolutely zero issues thus far. Looking fantastic. I mean, you could say it was an issue earlier when Will got a little bit better of a start. At least the first couple of corners, it seemed like Will Ryan had some pace for Alex Salmon. But Will made an attempt, got by Salmon, and then pushed out a little wide. And since then, Will has not been close enough. Actually falling back into the clutches of David Soranzo, who got by. But then Soranzo having an issue now leaves Will Ryan with a clear view of the back of Alex Salmon. We'll have to see whether or not Will can creep up and give Alex a run for the money. But we look back at Phil Lee, who's now really coming under attack by Sam Blackwood. So Blackwood chasing down Lee for third place, up 5 spots thus far today, having a stellar day. As I mentioned before, this is exactly the type of racing that you would expect to see from this driver from Airdrie. So fast thus far this season, but not able to get those top finishes, as I mentioned. Takes it in real close to the apex, lets it ride out, tries to get that run off the corner. That last time, it looked like Phil Lee had a problem on track. That's what backed up Phil Lee to Sam Blackwood a little bit more so. But Sam Blackwood that time a 39.98, and that's not quite as fast as the top two are putting in. But as I mentioned, Phil Lee having an issue that was faster than Phil Lee, even faster than everybody behind Sam Blackwood. So Sam doesn't have to worry about anybody coming up from behind. Everything right in front of Sam, Scottish driver, coming forward. And there is an early pit by Sam, perhaps trying to undercut, not wanting to have to get around Philip Lee. But for a split second, just the way that it works out, I actually saw Blackwood go ahead of Lee in the order, but that's just because of the way that the track revolves around. So we see Blackwood heading into the pits there, and we see Alex Salmon, who now, something happened to Alex that last time by. As you can see, we were watching And there's no notes. So, yeah, we don't have any sort of notes as far as Alex Salmon going off track. Just must have possibly gotten a corner wrong. I would say missed a shift, but this isn't real life. You can't, it's really not so easy to miss a shift in these. And we have a note, the championship leader, Andreas Eick, having an issue going over the curbs, spinning out. This is championship contender Andreas Eick for Team Talent having a moment in now finding themselves in 10th. Again, these costly mistakes. We also had last week's podium finisher, Thomas Klessens, having a moment here. Spinning off track and makes heavy contact with the barrier. Bits and pieces flying off of that car, or wing just barely hanging on. So Klessens now shown in 14th place, and I don't know that Klessens is going to be able to get that repaired in time to save a lap. So Salmon now still continuing on here on lap 9, excuse me. Thus far, extremely clean, except for one incident a moment ago that allowed Will Lyon to close up a little bit. But now these two drivers running pretty much the same times, so it'll be interesting to see who decides to go to their push to pass first. Thus far, no drivers having used push to pass in the top top 5 positions. None of those drivers using any push to pass, so possibly fuel saving, possibly just deciding to hang on to that push to pass until the end of the stint. Totally up to them to decide. And at the moment, take a look over at Sam Blackwood, who now is in 12th and about a half a lap down, 37 seconds back. We're going to keep watching that gap from Sam Blackwood to Alex Salmon, because we'll keep watching that, because that is essentially how the undercut strategy works, is as we see Max Hawk having another moment and sliding off track. The undercut strategy, quite simply, is that you're going to pit earlier than your competition, and what that's going to do is give you fresher tires so that you can turn in faster laps, and essentially that exchange of faster laps while they're going slower, your competition is on older tires, will give you potentially the lead when the pit cycle happens. So Sam Blackwood really gambling with a early stop to make this a 2-stopper, and I don't know that all of these drivers are thinking. I'm pretty sure you can't make 2 full. I don't think you can do this on 1 stop, in other words. So some of these drivers electing to go a much longer stint. And again, we'll just see how that breaks down in terms of undercutting and in terms of pit cycling. But right now, as it runs, it is Alex Salmon in first, Will Lyon running in second. It's as it has been now for most of the first 10 laps of this race, with the exception of David Soranzo breaking up that group, then sliding backwards. Now we've got Phil Lee with Sam Blackwood bailing out on that. We've got on that battle and choosing to pit. Now we've got Phil Lee with Connor Pearson just behind. So Connor Pearson now looking potentially to take that spot. As we go back and take a look at that, we also saw some dramatic action there. Phil Lee coming in, perhaps also trying to take advantage of that undercut strategy, as we get a nice tight shot on Phil Lee there heading into the pits. If I could spend as much time as I wanted, I would go in and do all of these custom cameras and get much closer cameras so that we can make sure that we get you the action that, you know, the close-up action, great action shots that you want to see. These Silverstone cameras are actually not that bad, though. Some of them are pretty, but this is a newer track. And so, yeah, there's a nice mix of TV cameras for us to work with here on broadcast. Hey, thank you, everybody, for joining us over in the YouTube chat room. Super awesome to have you. Julius Altena joining us over in chat and laying some French on us, and also letting us know Salmon is driving like a fish in the water. Well, I think I cursed everyone. No, it's not possible. Only I can curse people by focusing on them and telling them and mentioning how great they're doing on broadcast. It just seems to really shake everyone up. Oscar currently running in 9th. Absolutely. He's showing that Oscar has no fear of these road courses. Actually in 7th now, but everything's going to shake up here in just a minute. So we watch all of these drivers yet to pit. So the top 8 positions yet to pit. And so it's creating quite a different pit strategy, different fuel and tire strategy for all of these drivers. Kind of thought everybody would be on the same strategy today, but not seeing that. And so we'll take a look here at the exact pit stop strategy that everyone's on. You can see in the top 8, nobody has pitted, of course. But as we get outside the top 8, including, outside of the top 9 now, Sam Blackwood, your first of the drivers that has actually pitted. Philip Lee also having pitted. So Sam Blackwood in on lap 7, Phil Lee on lap 10, Grossberger on lap 10, Max Hawk on lap 7. So all those drivers having made a stop, but Alex Salmon not one of them. Nevertheless, getting it done here, but don't look too carefully because that bright yellow car of Will Lyon is creeping up again in the background. Perhaps Lyon having the better car over the length of the stint, but Salmon holding tight here on in first position and not throwing it away, that's for sure. As we take a look through the field, this is a great battle that's been going on for a while. This is Mark Johnston and Matthew Levine, David Soranzo there. All of these drivers now battling it out for 4th place. Of course, these drivers have not yet stopped, but at the moment on track, Mark Johnston leads this group. So Johnston in 4th, up 8 positions today. Awesome job by Mark. Matthew Levine up a spot in 5th. And Soranzo sliding back 3 spots today. Starting 3rd, moving up to 2nd, having a little spin and having to work back through it again. Getting very close up in front between Matthew Levine and Mark Johnston, though. We have another note that it looks like Max Hawk has gone off track, but come back on track. So Hawk's difficulties continue. We watch to see when the leaders will pit as we're now working lap 13. Alex Salmon leads Will Lyon, Connor Pearson, and Mark Johnston, as well as Matthew Levine. That's your top 5 here. Round 8, Silverstone of the Prime Meridian Racing League. Will Matthew Levine make the move? He does. They do. Matthew Levine down the outside. And Levine can't get it done. Johnston moves up. Moves back up into the 4th spot, and Connor Pearson now into the pits. So Connor taking that pit stop again, undercutting a little bit what other drivers are doing. So, as we can see there, Levine around the outside of Johnston. Trying it again, and this time Levine makes it stick. Levine now up into third place with that pit. And we were watching to see where that would put our first driver in the pit stop cycle, Sam Blackwood. Well, right now, Sam Blackwood, it's under 37 seconds, down to 36.61. So we will have to see what that will do in terms of pitting. But there, Alex Salmon, your leader, now into the pits. A little brake lock on entry. Thus far, Alex has been right on the money. Coming into the pits and taking routine service. That will hand over the lead to Will Lyon, who continues on here on lap 15. Will Lyon, the Scot, has taken a victory here on broadcast. Had the pleasure of getting to chat a couple of times now in the post-race interviews. We'll be looking forward to possibly getting to do that one at the end of this one. But through fortune, it's Will Lyon taking over the lead. And that puts Matthew Levine now into second, and David Soranzo, after that spin, now finding himself back up into third spot. But of course, these drivers yet to pit. Oscar Fredrickson now shown in fourth, up 3 spots, but again going to have to pit momentarily. And Andreas Eick was running so strong, but had that little moment a while ago, and now again one of these drivers that's going to have to play catch up. Not far behind, it is just 3.9 seconds is Alex Salmon, who's rejoined the track. Currently ahead of Sam Blackwood by just a second. And Philip Lee just behind that. Actually, that's David Glaz shown on screen in the other Spirit Box car. No, I'm sorry. I got confused there. Not a Spirit Box car. Similar light blue color. But that is David Glaz there now shown in 8th. So your virtual lead of this race as Will Lyon now pits. Alex Salmon leads Sam Blackwood and David Glaz, as we see David Soranzo still continuing on, will take over the lead, but Will Lyon now into the pits. Matthew Levine into the pits, and Oscar Fredrickson in for service. So we'll see what these drivers can do in the pits and whether they will rejoin in front of or behind Alex Salmon, Sam Blackwood, and David Glaz. But so far, now I should tell you, Glaz has not yet pitted, so that also is going to be a problem for Glaz, because once it pits, then we'll slide back a ways in the standings. But David Soranzo, after a great little charge in the beginning of this race, is now shown in first with that matte painted car, running for NSH Racing Team. I believe the only driver for NSH. And Soranzo there continuing. Andreas Eick shown 17 and a half seconds back. And Will Lyon did get out, in fact, just ahead of Alex Salmon. There you see it. This battle on track for the virtual lead of the race. And Salmon takes a late move into the same corner. I believe that Lewis Hamilton did the same thing to Max Verstappen. That move ending in tears. This one not so much, as Alex Salmon tried to send it in there but didn't get it done. And Will Lyon is off the track, gives the position up as Alex Salmon goes flying by down the straightaway, and Will not be able to respond. Salmon has used 2 push-to passes. Will Lyon has used none. So that was a interesting flurry of activity as Alex Salmon charged forward, took advantage of Will Lyon's off track. Currently finds himself now sliding up the order, but was in first, now in second of this race as Alex Salmon back in the lead. Philip Lee in third place, and Connor Pearson in 4th with Sam Blackwood now in 5th. Those tires on Blackwood are going to start kicking off pretty soon, so we'll keep an eye on that. And we can see Andreas Eick, David Glaz, and Max Hawk now in the pits taking service. But Alex Salmon, just a few moments ago, quite an exciting pass for the race win, or for the race lead. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here. There's still a bunch of laps to go. But certainly taking the race lead virtually for the moment, and then on that same lap, as the other drivers came around, able to take the position for first. So had to go back quite a ways to find that note. My goodness. Things moving very quickly. This was just a few moments ago. Alex Salmon looking down the back of Will Lyon, makes his move round the outside, and Salmon to the front. Nothing that Will Lyon could do to respond. Didn't even try push to pass. Perhaps making a decision to go fuel save on the second stint. Possibly. If you were going to break it up into 3, you would do like what, 15 on 2 stops and then 16 on 1 stop. Correct me if my math is terrible, but you would go 15 and 15 and 16, and Salmon coming in on lap 14 does not accomplish that. Will Lyon coming in on lap 15 does accomplish that. Connor Pearson coming in on lap 13 does not accomplish that. So we'll have to see if these drivers are going to try for even numbers or if they're going to try to short stint on the black tires, which might be the way to go. Take a look through the field. Here's Alex Salmon after that pit stop on black tires. Will Lyon doing the same thing, choosing to take the black tires on the second stint. Connor Pearson also choosing to take black tires in that middle stint. Philip Lee also on black tires, just 0.3 seconds back now. Phil Lee fan club, get back to your seats. We'll have to see if Phil has anything for Connor Pearson. As I mentioned, Pearson, one of those drivers in the field that, much like Blackwood, just one of those fast drivers that any race could find themselves up in the top 5, but so could Phil Lee. So Phil Lee right now, this last time by a 40.75, not fast enough to hang with Connor Pearson, a 39.74. Your leader, Alex Salmon, doing a 39.77. So Connor Pearson just slightly faster than the race leader, and only 4/100ths of a second Connor Pearson was off of and that was the previous lap. Of course, they just completed that lap, but just a few tenths of a second off of the best lap of the race set in the first stint by Pearson. So overall fast lap thus far, Alex Salmon, a 1:38.91. Nobody really that close to it. 39.11 from Will Lyon. But as Will Lyon is a little bit back now, drifting 0.8 back, will we see any more of those fast laps? Alex Salmon that time a little slower, actually, 0.4 of a second slower than Will Lyon. So these drivers maybe finding it a little difficult to find that consistency out there as some of these lap times are wavering a little bit. Again, Silverstone, one of those tracks that it has a bunch of, I want to say, high G-load corners. I think that's higher speed, high G-load corners. And that by itself can do its own damage. So we take a look back and see Connor Pearson still battling with Phil Lee here for third. But the speed that you're running these corners in, although it may not be hot right now, it's just 77 degrees on track at virtual 5:54 p.m. in August. It's a very cool day here at Silverstone, but you don't necessarily need the heat to wear out the tires. And even though they're on the black tires, the primary tires, which are the more durable of the two compounds, if you're pushing hard into these corners, you might wear off the new faster than you think and start to struggle with these tires, and that leads to inconsistent lap times. So consistency, the name of the game, and finishing well on iRacing and in any of these IndyCar races for sure. Philip Lee continues to hound Connor Pearson, but good luck trying to apply pressure and get Pearson to make a mistake, because that is easier said than done. But Phil Lee continuing here in 4th place. Mark Johnston a ways back in 5th, 8.6 seconds back. Johnston coming in on lap 14, so one of the later drivers to come in, up 7 positions. And so this position right now is pretty legit for Mark Johnston, having a great run for SM Galaxy Racing right now, up in the top 5. Of course, getting that PMRL brand out there, and so great to have you with us here in the PMRL broadcast on VirtualRacing.Network. Sam Blackwood there down the inside of David Soranzo. Soranzo tries to battle back on the outside, can't do it. You see Soranzo there, tries to make a move to the inside, takes a little look, no good. Blackwood gets it a little crossed up, and that allows Soranzo back to the inside, perhaps pushing out Blackwood there. And there you can see Matthew Levine now in the picture. This is a 3-way battle for 6th place on the track. Got some other tight battles happening on the track at the moment, but these drivers going at it as Levine dives down the inside of Blackwood, and now Blackwood slides back to 8th spot. So Soranzo up into 6th, Levine in 7th, and Blackwood in 8th. Of course, Blackwood on those black primary tires did take the earlier pit stop, and so not really able to hang with the fresher red tires of David Soranzo, the alternates, or the fresher tires of Matthew Levine, who stopped just much more recently, lap 15 compared to Blackwood's lap 7. So we watch that continue to go on, and we continue to look up towards the front. We see Connor Pearson still in 3rd, about a half a second lead over Phil Lee. Phil Lee still with 10 push to pass, and Mark Johnston still with 10 push to pass. The front drivers, Connor Pearson with 9, Lyon with 9, and Salmon with 8. And I just make mention of that because all these drivers really hanging on to their push to pass. Not a lot of defense going on with this one using push to pass. So it will be interesting to see how these drivers do strategize going forward. And yeah, mentioned by Julian Altena, if I just looked at your comments, Alex's tires starting to fall off. Well, definitely some of these drivers' tires starting to fall off, and we see Will Lyon just it seems like one lap we'll be watching and Will will be right there, and then the next lap will have slid back just a little bit. But at the moment, Alex Salmon, we see on board, looking back, it's a big yellow bumblebee right behind, and that's enough to make you nervous. You definitely are aware that there is a driver right there, just under 0.4 of a second back now. Will Lyon closing even closer. Will we see an attempt from Lyon? Lyon on the push to pass. Are we going to see an attempt from Will Lyon as we head down the straightaway? Will not close enough to make a move for the race lead. And also, I mean, we have to say this is a fight for the race championship right here on your screen live on VirtualRacing.Network. The way it's worked out is how we had hoped. We've got your championship leaders running 1-2 here with 24 laps to go on round 8 of Silverstone. for the Prime Meridian Racing League. You couldn't ask for more. Multiple great battles going on throughout the track. So we see Sam Blackwood now pitting on that different pit strategy, pulling it into the pits and getting fresh tires and fuel. Really not sure how that's going to work out for Sam, but we will find out over the length of this one, because again, 24 laps to go. You could get 14 or 15 laps out of a tank. So it's looks like a 3-stopper for Sam and a 2-stopper for everyone else. But nevertheless, the undercut strategy can work, and light fueling can also help you in that way as well. But you will have to overcome an extra stop, which is a good 30+ seconds. So this battle continues to rage on. It seems like the whole race from the first corner, these two have been battling, and it hasn't let up through the pit cycle. And now, as we're into our second stint, Will Lyon climbing right up on the back of Alex Salmon. We'll see whether Salmon keeps that championship muster and drive, the ice veins like Kimi Räikkönen or your favorite other Finnish driver perhaps. We'll see whether Alex can hang on and not let Will Lyons dogging in the mirrors chase him and make Alex give up that position. But Will currently fighting for everything possible here in the race, knowing that those points, of course, are so valuable. Take a look back. Connor Pearson running in third again, just in front of Philip Lee. These drivers really holding pace with one another excellently today. Looking excellent out on track. Keeping it clean and giving us a good show here on VirtualRacing.Network. And Mark Johnston, as well, as I mentioned, up 7 positions in 5th. Having a good show of it for SM Galaxy. Also, David Soranzo, having recovered from that earlier moment, might still walk away with the top 5. Of course, all of these drivers have something to say about it, as I saw that green light up, and that means push to pass is on for Will Lyon. Coming down the straightaway. Again, not quite able to get close enough. Alex Salmon not responding with the push to pass. So you have to think maybe part of what's happening here is Salmon might be running a little, possibly different tire pressures. There being a number of different factors that could play into this. But either way, Alex Salmon finding a way to stay in front of Will Lyon. So we have 22 laps to go. This is exactly what you want. Your two championship contenders battling it out for the championship and the race victory. Will Lyon on the button again. Maybe going to surprise Alex Salmon. Go on board with Will Lyon. Going to the outside. Not able to get it done, forcing Alex into a slightly compromised entry to the next corner. Will going to try the over-under move, not able to get it done. Sometimes effective if that driver in front wants to push out wide there on exit. Will cranking through those push to passes. Currently got 5 remaining to Alex's 8. So your championship hangs in the balance of this fight right here. We don't want to go anywhere. You are watching live, commercial and advertising free right here, the Prime Meridian Racing League. Will Lyon not on the button this time, but Connor Pearson on the button behind, defending from Philip Lee. That's for 3rd place and the final step on the podium. But this is your challenge for the race lead and championship. Heavy championship implications on the line for these drivers to take a look on board the Prime Meridian Racing League blimp. beautiful sights today from Great Britain. So glad to have you with us. A nice mild temperature to give these drivers not too many headaches of tire fall off, or they're not going to be sweating in their cockpits too much. Connor Pearson hanging well with everyone else, and with the front two battling, this gap has now fallen to Connor Pearson. It's not much that it's fallen, but just enough as Salmon and Lion continue to battle up in front. Pearson is just taking advantage by putting clean, fast laps. Last time by a 39.94, and the front two doing 40.77 and a 40.70, so picking up close to 0.8 of a second that last lap. Try to get that battle box up there on the screen so you can keep track, see that gap as it grows, and it also kind of gives you something cool. It gives you a little relative positioning to understand, so you can see who's in between the leaders and where the leaders are sort of relative to each other on the track. So Will Lyon trying everything possible at the moment to try to take this lead from Alex Salmon. We move back on board. We're only going to hide the track map just for a second. A little too much clutter on the screen. I promise we'll bring it back out, Gail. But these drivers fighting this out hard, and you know, this is exactly what you want to see. Drivers able to hang within a half a second of each other, lap in and lap out, trying each other on corner for corner, defending, challenging. And of course, overtaking, as we've seen both Will overtake Alex and seen Alex overtake Will. Couldn't ask for more on a Wednesday. Getting to see some tight action for the championship and racing for potential victory here in the Prime Meridian Racing League. So continuing on, Connor Pearson understands the situation a bit better. Connor is smelling some blood in the water, as the drivers ahead perhaps have worn a little new off of those tires. Now a 142.7 and a 143.1 to the drivers in front. Connor Pearson now into the pits. Gonna have to do 20 laps on the end of this one, so again, not sure how that's gonna work out. Looks like another long stint, and that is gonna turn over third place to Mark Johnston momentarily. But Connor Pearson able to get a great in-lap, and potentially we'll see how this all cycles out, but maybe on the undercut strategy that might be able to overtake those leaders at some point. We'll see. Mark Johnston, meanwhile, for SM Galaxy Racing, doing an astounding job due to Connor Pearson peeling off, now in third spot, up nine places today. And again, I really feel it's just that consistency. It's one thing to have that pace, as we see David Soranzo now following closely on Mark Johnston, both these drivers on their red tires, but it is so important to not make that mistake. Right now, if Soranzo had not had that spin earlier, we would be talking about a whole different race. Perhaps Soranzo in the lead, but certainly in that fight with Salmon and Lion. But instead, it's Johnston who's managed to get the favorable positioning on track, currently in third, and now Soranzo has had to play catch-up. Gonna have to get around Johnston for that third spot on the podium. And then Soranzo's gonna have to deal with Pearson as Soranzo makes the move down the inside. Side by side, into the corner we go. They hold tight through the corner, still side by side. Soranzo pulls ahead just a little bit of Johnston. They did bang wheels for just a moment. You saw it right there. And the question is, did Philip hit? Well, we've got Philip with 2 pit stops. So yes, to answer your question, James Lee, Phil did come into the pits, currently back out there in 8th, but we hope you enjoyed there on screen. French driver Suranzo showing some of that talent, putting that on display here, getting by the very consistent and quick Mark Johnston, who's having a great run up in 4th right now. But Suranzo back to where they started the race in 3rd, and frankly, it's 1, 2, 3. Alex Salmon currently running in 1st. It's where they started. Will Lyon in 2nd. And David Suranzo in 3rd, right where they started. 1, 2, 3. Albeit some action has happened in between when they started and now. And that's what we love about these races, is there's so much of a story that's unfolding, and we really don't know how it will work out with everybody's strategy until the end. Fortunately, no caution flags today. I think, again, we're just talking about at the start of the broadcast, perhaps that reduced size of the field, as we see Alex Salmon, your leader, now pitting, will be taking those red tires, and we will see how this all works out with the pit strategy, but as the pit cycle goes on. But yeah, you really don't know. Different drivers can choose to put themselves off strategy, and again, with the reduced field size, as we see Mark Johnston also into the pits. That was Alex Salmon. Johnston into the pits at the moment. Slow and easy does it. And so, yeah, these drivers able to choose different strategies based off of how their car's feeling. Maybe they want fresher tires after feeling it out for a few laps. There's always surprises to be had in the actual race itself. You see it all the time. As this hands over the race lead to Will Lyon, but you see it all the time in the regular race, in real life IndyCar and in other series. During the race, that's when those gremlins come out. My dad, Fred Greenfield, also former racer, did some Formula Atlantic back in the day, got to race around Bobby Rahal and Danny Sullivan, and a number of other racers came up through, including at one time, just before he got there, Gilles Villeneuve. But he had what they used to and still do fasten down some bits and components on cars with these, Zeus fasteners, as they're called. They have multiple different names, but Zeus fastener being one of them. So we see Suranzo in 2nd and Levine in 3rd, and Will Lyon now pitting in. So we'll see where Lyon will rejoin. We'll get that track map up there for Gale. But Fred telling me one time that a Zeus fastener failing and causing his bodywork to come up on him during the course of a race, and basically getting black flagged for that because he couldn't quite see everything well enough. And those are the type of gremlins, and he says about that incident, 10-cent part cost you a race and a potential podium. So I think he was actually top 10 in that race and doing quite well and flying by people. But yep, races when those gremlins are going to come out, and you may have tested here, you may have practiced here, but until you get all that rubber down on the track and you feel out how the car's gonna feel on those black tires, how it's doing in traffic, especially on ovals, as those tires start to fall off and temperature comes up and makes such a big difference on the feel of the car. Well, maybe you got to make an adjustment to your strategy. Maybe instead of going for the extra overcut, you decide I'm going to go for the undercut, and you try to take fresher tires or adjust your field strategy. Back to the race at hand. We'll find out now as we're on our final stints of this race. Alex Salmon on track on the red tires. Will Lyon just behind, 1.5 seconds. So Lyon falling back a little bit with that overcut strategy. And we'll see how those tires work out over the stint. We did see these drivers battling each other quite heavily just a few moments ago. So as we look back, it is Connor Pearson and Philip Lee now still battling for this 3rd position. Right now, Gale doing a dance because we got the track map back up there. just glad we can bring you all of these little bits of coverage, help you digest some of this data and information and strategy, try to break it apart for you guys and ladies and everyone else out there watching us from around the world here on YouTube on VirtualRacing.Network. So awesome to have you here as we're watching the final 15 laps of this one. And it is really anyone's race as Alex Salmon now takes back over the lead as Soranzo pits and Levine Fredrickson head into the pits for their final stop. It is a 3-second gap now back to Will Lyon. Lyon that time just not really with a great overall outlap. That really costing a couple of extra seconds, and we'll have to see if Lyon can chase down that lead now back to 3 seconds. That's quite a gap. This driver for Wyvern Racing with O'Connor Moore. And of course, we did see Eric O'Connor. Kind of surprised we're not seeing Eric back this week. That's a little bit of a bummer because Eric, the namesake at the end of this team, O'Connor, won the race and had the speed for Alex Salmon and Will Lyon. So hopefully Eric is watching out there, watching this broadcast, cheering on fellow teammates, and hope to see Eric back in the PMRL soon. Get a chance to see some more awesome competition in the PMRL. But Pearson still under attack from Lee, and I tell you what, if you're Pearson right now, I mean, you really don't want to see on this last stint. You thought maybe you could have cleared by a full second or two by now, but you don't want to see Phil Lee back there because Philip Lee is a fast driver, very consistent, not likely to make mistakes. And if Pearson does happen to bobble, I think Lee in the spare box machine is going to be there to take advantage. Take a look through the rest of the fields here. This battle going on for 6th place. Don't blink, you'll miss it. It's David Soranzo, Mark Johnson, and Sam Blackwood all covered in the space of a blanket. And there, Johnston down the inside of Soranzo, throws it off course. Soranzo can't hold it on course, and Blackwood slides by both of them on the outside. Brilliant drive from Sam Blackwood after a thorough yeeting down the inside by Mark Johnston. Didn't make it stick. Now Johnston having another look down the inside of Sam Blackwood. Not going to get it done. These two charging hard, trying to fight it out for a top 5. What a prestigious thing to take a top 5 here in the PMRL. And it's Johnston down the inside in the pink and black and white machine. Blackwood trying to hold the outside, and does hold the outside. A little tentative through the corner was Johnston, and Blackwood now takes the position. Unfortunately, I'm seeing Soranzo, sadly, it looks like in the pits, and I don't know if that is a planned stop. I don't think it was. We'll have to go back and see. And in fact, David Soranzo did jump to the pits, so we'll see what happened. This was moments ago as Johnston went down the inside of Soranzo. Soranzo spinning out and actually taking damage there. That is so crazy, but that car has been damaged. Let's just back that up and take a look. What happened? Was that damaged by the curb? Or was it a potential netcode collision? As we go live here, go through this corner, and now we'll look for this move right here, and there it did. We'll just back it up one more time to see if we can see it very... Just not able to tell. As we go overhead, perhaps we'll see it a little bit easier. Back it up. And it does look like perhaps a netcode collision very close there on your screen on that pass. That is one that the stewards are going to have to look very carefully at. Nevertheless, would you believe that while we were in that, Alex Salmon setting the fastest lap of the race, a 1:38.85, using push to pass to get it done, but a 38.85, and that time Will Lyon a 40.22. So that speed really starting to come out of Alex Salmon, as perhaps not having to do the fuel saving on this stint. And we're starting to see the gap times start to pile up. Now 7 seconds back to Lyon. And this pace of this driver, Alex Salmon, that we saw in the very beginning of the championship is now starting to come back to form. Will Lyon also, as I mentioned, hanging on tight here in second. Will just, would love to take that first position, as Salmon now pokes even faster, a 38.74. So faster and faster we go, but Will Lyon, would love to get first, but if you can't get first, second's pretty good. And we'll lose a minimum amount of points to Alex Salmon in the championship if that does happen. Connor Pearson still hanging on to third, with Philip Lee not really able to decrease that gap, actually. Down to 0.4 of a second. Philip Lee there in the light blue Spirit Box machine, chasing down the blue and orange Connor Pearson. We can pretty much assume that Connor's staying nice and hydrated in that machine, getting lots of electrolytes. We'll leave that commercial sponsor out of it. Love to know if that's actually a real sponsor. Probably not, but that's how Connor Pearson perhaps is getting it done. So those of you who are maybe a little tired at the end of the race, you want to stay hydrated, well, I guess that's how Connor Pearson does it. Suppose that's a little bit healthier for you than chugging, Code Reds during a race. But hey, to each their own. And everybody's got their own recipe for success. Sam Blackwood here in fifth, up 4 spots. A brilliant pass a moment ago. That was the quintessential. You're running behind 2 other drivers, that being Soranzo and Mark Johnston, and they're battling it out, and just wait for them to tangle, and then you can take advantage. That's exactly what Blackwood did a moment ago, and Johnston threw it down the inside of Soranzo, was not able to make it stick. Again, we will wait for potential word from stewards whether that will be a penalty or not. And we have a note. Will Lyon having a moment, just a second to go, getting it wrong, sliding it sideways, and you'll see it on screen. That's Connor Pearson catching up to Will Lyon, and now Connor Pearson makes the move around the inside of Will Lyon. Pearson down the inside and makes it stick. Lyon on those black tires, suffering greatly, having come in on lap 30. So we go back live. We take a look. It's Will Lyon running in third between Connor Pearson and Phil Lee. So Lee up into the fourth, still in the fourth spot, but now has a chance not only potentially at a podium, but a second place finish. But that is if Will Lyon and Connor Pearson don't have something to say about it. So we'll continue to watch this battle happening on your screen as Alex Salmon attempts to go yet even faster, using push to pass, and why not? If you got it, use it. So Salmon off the front of this by 14 seconds, with Will Lyon now sliding back into the clutches of Pearson and Philip Lee. So we circled Pearson's name along with teammate Blackwood at the beginning of this one, and said potentially those are 2 drivers you really have to watch out for, because they do have that pace and they have been dangerously fast all season long. Well, Pearson really proving it today, up in second place, taking advantage of others' mistakes, staying nice and clean. This is the type of racing from Pearson we have been expecting to see take a look back. Will Lyon in third, and now with Philip Lee all over the back. This is currently your closest battle happening for second, third, and fourth on track. There's one other battle that's pretty close, as we see David Soranzo now set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:38.73 that time by. So Soranzo deciding to try to go after that point for that bonus point for leading or for getting the fastest lap. We'll see. I don't think Salmon can respond now. It's a little too late in the stint to try. So Salmon won't get credit probably for fastest lap here, but who cares? There's many more points in store as you see Salmon actually get by Soranzo there, and Soranzo go down a lap. Interesting coincidence of that, but yeah, many more points in store if you don't spin and you don't have an issue during the race. If you can get that first position. That's not a slight at Soranzo at all. This is a very difficult car, a difficult series, a difficult track. It's not easy to do what these drivers are doing at upwards of 200 miles an hour. But Alex Salmon has made a mistake today, really. Well, maybe a small-ish mistake, as Salmon heads into the pits for the final time. Really great pit entry. You can hear very last seconds onto the binders there to get that last little bit of speed into the pits. So excellent pit in by Salmon, and this will turn over the lead to Connor Pearson in a moment, who is running in second, and we missed it. Seems like half the time we miss it, sometimes we get it, but this was on board with Phil Lee going down the inside of Will Lyon. That for second place at the moment. When Alex Salmon cycles back out there, it might be for third, but Phil Lee, the American, now up into second provisionally, and I think now it's time for Phil to deal with somebody like Will Lyon in the mirrors. That yellow, bright yellow car can be seen from space, so definitely something that these drivers are seeing in their mirrors. But I just think that Will Lyon kind of suffering towards the middle portions of these stints. It seemed like the first stint, Will Lyon was doing great, but just not really able to keep pace with the leaders, and having a moment of just a couple of laps ago sliding sideways, and that allowed Pearson and Lee to get by, or actually Pearson to get by, and now Lee has finished that cycle and gotten by as well, as we are seeing Alex Salmon having a heck of a battle right here with Matthew Levine. Having gotten by, we'll see, just as Alex was coming out of the pits, encountered Matthew, and there goes Matthew back down the outside. Can't get it done. Salmon holding it to the inside. Now, these drivers are not on the same fuel strategy. Salmon having made a pit stop recently, so Levine will need to pit for the final time, but Philip Lee running in second place, now in the pits, taking final fuel and tires on the race. Just 7 laps to go. So again, fuel and pit strategy so crucial here, as we see your leader, Connor Pearson, for Wyvern Racing with O'Connor Moore. This has been quite a run for Connor, trying to overcome some of the difficulties of earlier in the season, making contact with some of the drivers, but keeping it very clean here and holding a great race, running in first. Got a 3.5 second gap back to, or 3.3 second gap back to Will Lyon, who's currently running in second, and Mark Johnston right now shown on the podium position
all three of those drivers yet to make their final stop. So we watch to see who will make that final stop when, but thus far, Alex Salmon, well, let's see how far back. If we look back at Salmon, who's now coming up on Johnston, again, Johnston's going to have to make that final pit stop as well, we believe. Johnston pitting on lap 29. So that would be quite a feat to be able to stretch the tank that far. I don't think it can be done. Pearson now into the pits, giving up the lead to Will Lyon, but we'll watch as these drivers circulate. And Will Lyon now, as I said, shown in the lead. Johnston in second and Salmon in third. So Lyon's lead over Salmon at the moment, just 13 seconds. And that will obviously not be anywhere close to enough to hold on to that lead after Lyon pits. But also Lyon doing laps on these black tires. And that costing some time, as we can see Alex Salmon last time by a 38.75. So within 1/100th of a second of Alex's fast time of the day, 38.74, still looking potentially to take that fast lap. But I'll tell you what, another driver, not David, again, not David Soranzo taking the fastest lap. Would you believe it's Sam Blackwood, a 38.49. Couple of tenths faster than the previous fastest lap. Sam really putting the name up on the chalkboard with that one. So we'll have to see where this all cycles out. Easy enough for me to say. But so far, it's Will Lyon in the lead with Alex Salmon second, and Salmon still just doing really fast laps. So Salmon will retake the lead, providing that we don't have a late problem. 5 laps to go here. And I'm not sure. 5 laps to go. Will Lyon did come in on lap 30. So can Will Lyon stretch 16 laps out of this tank? I mean, that's the question right now. Because if so, Will Lyon is in position to take this win. But it's also red tires on the car of Alex Salmon, and Salmon is currently lapping over a second a lap faster than your leader, Will Lyon. So now we have the ultimate strategy on your screen. This fight has turned a couple of times. Previously, it was Lyon and Salmon fighting it out just on pure pace. And now we're looking at Salmon on red tires going absolutely as fast as possible to try to catch Will Lyon, who is now 9.4 seconds ahead with 5 laps to go. Can it be done? That is anyone's question. Mark Johnston, I don't know if Mark can make it to the end. Mark came in a lap earlier than Will Lyon, and now Mark under attack from Matthew Levine for the 3rd spot. Levine slides out wide, does not clip, and Johnston holds on to 3rd. Johnston and Levine, countrymen, battling it out here. Two different teams, and there we can see it. Alex Salmon burning push to pass and taking the fastest lap, a 1:38.15, so waiting until the very end, but making that charge now down 8.3 seconds. Just 8.3 seconds remaining between Will Lyon and Alex Salmon. Will we have a showdown for the end of this one, or will it be Will Lyon who will take it on fuel strategy? That is the question. Mark Johnston has an extra lap to go past Will Lyon, so the question is, Will Johnston be able to hang on? Is Johnston in the middle of a fuel save? Is Matthew Levine in the middle of a fuel save coming in on lap 31? So Levine actually 2 laps fresher on fuel and tires, trying to get by Johnston for the final podium position. Will Lyon now burning a push to pass out front, perhaps feeling that heat coming from behind from Alex Salmon. And Johnston feeling the heat here from Matthew Levine. Levine down the outside. Gets it done into the corner. Didn't do it with push to pass. Levine up into third over Johnston. The SMS Racing driver moving SMS back up into the front at the very end. Of course, Will Lyon also racing for SMS, so it's looking like a 1-3 potential for SMS Racing. We'll see if that's how they can finish. You see a driver going off ahead of Will Lyon. And we also have a note that just a moment ago, Soranzo crashed on screen. Soranzo having another moment here. Going off, or just sliding sideways, not really having too much trouble, but Soranzo to be in 11th place right now, really not showing the type of pace that we saw out of David all day long. Unfortunately, going to end up with another one of those races where you got to scratch your head at the end and ask the question, what happened, as we see Connor Pearson now taking the fastest lap, a 1:37.97 for Pearson, running in 6th position. Oscar Fredrickson just ahead in 5th, and Johnston now in 4th place, moving up into Levine, now breaking a little gap open between Johnston and he, but Levine now in 3rd spot. The final podium position will be interesting to see. But this is your battle on screen right now. It is the battle between Alex Salmon, your points leading driver, who is currently in 2nd place, running on red tires, running flat out, trying to chase down Will Lyon, who has managed with fuel strategy to be in the lead with just 2 to go. It's going to be tight on fuel. I'll love to talk to Will after the end of this and find out just how tight. But we'll find out live here on VirtualRacing.Network. No commercials to get in the way. And there you can see in the back, we're going to start to see Alex Salmon creeping into the picture. Go take a look at the blimp feed. We can't quite see it yet, but just 4.7 seconds remaining between these drivers. And if it was tight on fuel, Will Lyon using up push to pass to try to save that. However, Sam Blackwood having a moment here and getting it just wrong, spinning off, spins it around, gets it going again. Very costly, and that allowed David Glass to slide by. We go back to the live picture, and now Blackwood having to try to retake that position from Glass. Glass raising for Chef's Kiss. I don't know what that sponsor is, but I'm sure they're very happy seeing their driver up in 7th spot. I know when my girlfriend's cooking, I love to kiss the chef. Maybe that's what it has to do with. I have no idea. We'll love to talk to David Glass one of these times in the podium spot. But white flag for this driver, Will Lyon, who's on the fuel cruise, up 3.7 seconds. And will Alex Salmon be able to make up 3.6 seconds? Will Lyon have it using push to pass up there, so must have the fuel to hang on? Are we seeing a master class in pit strategy and fuel usage by Will Lyon? Either way, what a great race here on VirtualRacing.Network. Matthew Levine currently running in 3rd place. Great run for Matthew. Oscar Fredrickson pulling that one out of nowhere. The VRR machine up in 4th, and Connor Pearson back in 5th. Phil Lee in 6th with that fuel strategy not quite working out the way that you might have thought. But this is the battle right here as Will Lyon continuing on the final lap. Will just 3 seconds ahead of Alex Salmon. That gap has come down tremendously. We're not quite seeing it in that shot, but there you can see just in the corner of your picture, Alex Salmon. Both of these drivers have used now all of their push to pass. And will Alex Salmon be able to get this last 2 seconds as Will Lyon breaks for the corner? I don't know. And there's the checkered flag in hand. It's Will Lyon taking the win with a masterful fuel strategy, and Alex Salmon bringing it home second. Salmon with the fastest lap of the race, but gonna have to question that one at the end. Where did the lead go, and how did it all go wrong for Alex Salmon as Will Lyon takes the win? Matthew Levine in third, Oscar Fredrickson for Velocity Online Racing now looking at fourth place. Matthew Levine, of course, coming home in third, giving SMS Racing first and third. Connor Pearson bringing it home a solid fifth place finish, a top 5 from that driver. Definitely going to be part of that category with Alex Salmon, who says, I had the pace today, potentially to podium. Where did that one go? And this driver as well that we just saw, Philip Lee, is going to have a chat with the fan club, and they're going to have to figure it out together. What happened that caused Philip Lee to be running so strong up in the front and just not quite able to get it done there? As far as the question as to what is the miles per hour on the leader chart, I believe that was their overall correlated miles per hour the previous lap. So I actually don't know. It just tells me that I can turn on their top speed. So perhaps that's the top speed in the trap of a particular corner. We'll have to track that down and chase that one down next time. But in the meantime, we'll get all of this stuff off of the screen and take a look at your victor on screen. Will Lyon with Alex Salmon, and I believe just behind the SMS driver, Matthew Levine. So proud to be in second spot. These two bringing it home, and there you see Johnston just behind, finishing the laps. What an astounding race. It was close all race long. We saw a heck of a battle between multiple drivers, including these drivers here who come home first and third. Will Lyon pulling it out. And we will take a look at your final running order here on your screen. It's Will Lyon with the victory. Round 8 Silverstone for the PMRL in Season 1, taking the victory over season rival Alex Salmon and possibly taking points lead as we see Matthew Levine pushing Will Lyon perhaps across the finish line. I'm not sure if Will ran out of gas. Let's take a look at Will. Is it quiet? That car is out of fuel. That car is out of fuel in neutral. I'm not sure when the fuel ran out, but that's how tight it was. Matthew Levine coming home third, Fredrickson fourth, Pearson fifth, Lee sixth, Blackwood seventh, David Glass in eighth, Johnston ninth, and Grossberger in 10th. Andreas Ike in 11th, Soranzo 12th, Klessens in 13th, Max Hawk in 14th, and that was your final running order today. And I don't know, did he refire it? Did it get refired? I'm not sure, but either way, there you go. Will Lyon just trying to make it around this circuit. I don't know if there's any more gas in that one to go. I don't think so. It seems to be slowing down. Well, we're gonna. James Lee in the chat room saying the same thing. I didn't think Will Lyon could finish based on everyone else's strategy. Got it right. You bet. That was the story of the day, and we'll look forward to chatting with some of these drivers over in our broadcast booth. So definitely make sure to head on over and join us in the booth. Would love to see Matthew Levine join us over there, and of course Anyone else in the race that wants to join us, appreciate it. Always looking to do a little bit more chat. But at the moment, we do have your second place finisher joining us, just stumbling in, understandably, probably covered in a little bit of perspiration. Have you calmed down yet enough to gather your thoughts on today's race? Alex, welcome to the broadcast.
Hello. First of all, it's good to actually finally meet you. I've finally done well enough in one of these races. Yeah, no, that was. I mean, Will did incredible strategy there. That was. I wouldn't have been able to fuel save like that. So yeah, really, really good job. I don't quite understand. I think I probably was close. I overfueled slightly. For me, by 2 laps, and then got caught in traffic as well. So I think I probably could have got him, maybe, but it would have been really close. So yeah, it was a good race. Just shame.
A shame to end up second, because you did end up taking the fastest lap there at the end. I mean, it looked like you executed practically perfectly, and that there was very little that you could have done better. I'm sure at the end of this, you're going to say, yeah, there was maybe 2.7 seconds. I could have gotten somewhere out of it. But at the same time, as you said, Will Lyon with that strategy. Now, did you get a chance to execute the strategy that you wanted today, or were you adapting based on conditions or what Will was doing?
To be honest, I think I kind of made my own bed a little bit. With how I was running the race, I was trying to get track position, thinking that tires would be the limiting factor. So obviously, running out front with no toe, I kind of made it difficult for myself as far as fuel saving went. I couldn't do the extra lap at the first stint.
Sure.
And then kind of from there, I think without being able to do the extra lap every stint, there's no way I would have been able to make it. So yeah, kind of my start, kind of doing well at the start, kind of made a mess of the rest of the race, which is a bit of a shame. But
well, and it was so exciting for us because we saw it converging and the gap time coming down. So you quite made it very exciting. Of course, you could have made it easy for yourself a bit out front all race, but that wouldn't have been as exciting for us. So I appreciate you doing that for us. And you have been running strong all season. You were the points leader when we started doing the broadcast, the first race of Road America. And it has been a little bit of a difficult struggle during the season. You've had a little bit of contact, but mostly just had some strategy and some other calls that have put you a little bit further down in the order than seeing you always up at the front. But nevertheless, you've been consistent enough that you did overtake and keep the top position in the points. I'm not sure how it's going to work out now. You may actually be down a couple of positions with Will Lyon coming forward. What do you think? You got something for Will the end of this season? Is it looking like some races that you can do well at?
We'll see. I mean, I haven't won a race since you showed up, so I think the broadcast is a bit of a bad omen for me. But yeah, we'll see. It's I'm gonna give it everything. I think it's just one of those at the moment. The season seems to be wrong place, wrong time for a lot of things. So I just can't get that break I need. But we'll see. I'm not expecting anything, but yeah, we'll see what I can do.
Well, you showed very well here again today, and obviously repping Taylor Mills Racing. Are we going to be seeing Taylor coming back? She won a race and then she just disappeared. How does that work exactly? Does she not want to do the road courses? But you are absolutely flying and repping TM Racing and keeping your team up in the points.
Yeah. Hopefully Mills will be back for the next one. She's had a bit of free work commitments this week that she's had to take care of. So yeah, hopefully she'll be back for the next 2, and then we can sort of give SMS a little bit more of a run, hopefully, with having 4 cars around.
Absolutely, because of course there is the team standings, and that isn't something that we do in every single series and league out there, but with the great participation coming here, we see SMS Racing was just trailing TM Racing. And so now I think with this finish, it's going to be a tight battle, but TM Racing probably still on top here. So going to have to get Taylor back in the seat. You're going to need all the help you can to try to tackle this juggernaut with Will Lyon and Matthew Levine. Nevertheless, congratulations today on second place, and we'll look forward to seeing you the rest of the season, Alex.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Absolutely. Pleasure to have you on. Thank you, Alex, for joining us in the booth, and again, I meant every word that I just said. As far as it's just been kind of shocking to see Alex with all that pace, and then just to not finish 1, 2, or 3 in the top of the points. But again, while I've got everybody listening on broadcast, just want to say a personal thank you over to Vilda Wallen of the PMRL and the rest of the admin staff. Of course, they're doing a great job here with Prime Meridian Racing League. If anybody out there wants to join and wants to be a part of this going forward, definitely make sure to give them a shout. And make sure to, go over to iRacing.com and you can even apply. Next season's going to be coming up real fast, but Vilda providing all of those great standings graphics each week. And so doing an awesome job, really helping out the whole team, including the broadcast. In the meantime, I am excited because also, if I look over in the booth here, we've got a couple more drivers joining us, and I'm so glad to have, let's have Matthew Levine join us, our third place finisher on the podium. And Matthew, can you hear me over there in your side of the booth?
Hello. Yes, I can hear you. How are you?
I'm doing brilliant, my friend. You're up there on the podium, and congratulations to you. Third place, not just great for you personally, but able to hang with your teammate, Will Lyon, and get those crucial points for the points championship for the team. So congratulations on your podium.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to... I've been way too inconsistent this season, and a lot of the points for the team have relied on Will's, but it's good to get a decent amount for the team myself for once.
So take me through your strategy today and how it kind of unfolded for you. We saw you climbing up the order, having some sensational battles throughout the field. It was just a pleasure to watch you battling, and it was very clean throughout. So what was your race like today, and how the heck did you end up in third?
Well, wasn't the best first stint. I can't remember what lap it was. I need to look back. Not quite sure what happened, but going into Stowe, one of the laps, must have touched grass or something, so locked the rear and spun. I think I was running third or fourth at that time. That put me well down the order. So on the reds at the start, I needed to get a move on, so pushed hard to overtake some people. And then in the middle stint, it was just about fuel mileage for me and Will. We went in with the strategy of we got to do a 16-lap stint somewhere and save ourselves that extra stop, which everyone else seemed to do. And so that was the key, really, to the strategy.
And you guys nailed it. I mean, absolutely nailed it. Shocker to me, I didn't think that Will was going to quite be able to stretch it that far, or that perhaps the pace wouldn't be enough to hold off Alex Salmon, or that one of these other drivers behind you would be able to catch based on that. But it did work out. This is one of those races. And then did we see Will out of gas and you do the brave teammate thing and push Will across the start finish line? That's so nice of you.
Yeah, he was out of fuel at the end. That's how tight he was leaving it with the strategy. So yeah, I did the kind thing, getting back to the pit lane, push him around all the way.
It's quite funny to watch. We had a good time watching that. I got it on the screen now. You don't get to see bump drafting with IndyCars very much, but pleasure to see both of you for SMS Racing doing so well and bringing some great strategy on board. I mean, you had to do something different than Alex with that pace that Alex was able to put down. You really did need to think of some different strategy. So congratulations to your team and to both of you. I assume that you are both talking to each other. You got each other on Discord and talking about different strategy.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, we don't really sort of mumble about strategy a little bit, but to be honest, we're often just talking about Project Cars or AMS2.
There you go. Well, either way, whatever gets you through the race and keeps producing these great results. Congratulations on your third place, and we'll definitely look forward to seeing you back up there on the podium the rest of the season, Matthew.
Thank you. I hope to join you again in the next two races.
Absolutely. My pleasure having you on, and good luck. So, well, that obviously leaves the final driver to be discussing here, the one that ran out of gas at the end, but it was after the start finish line. Matthew Levine's teammate at SMS Racing, Will Lyon, your winner here in Silverstone, and awesome to have you join us here in the booth again as the victor. Will, what a fabulous race. Congratulations on your well-earned victory.
Yeah, thanks, Trevor. Yeah, it was getting a little bit nervy at the end there. I'm actually a little bit frustrated. Oh, I mean, it's great to win, and it's fantastic for the team to get a P1 and P3, but I just did a really stupid, lazy spin, sort of quite near the start of my final stint there when I was fuel saving. I just, I don't know what was happening. I was sleeping and I just got on the throttle too much or something. I don't know, but I just spun and that made it a lot closer than it needed to be.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it was fun. I managed to keep up with Alex through the first two stints, which really surprised me. I was kind of expecting him to just streak away. He's very quick around here in particular, so it was fun. I used to push the pass a few times, put a bit of pressure on him, but he didn't crack. He didn't make any mistakes whatsoever. It was all down to strategy, really.
That was amazing to watch. You two running nose to tail for many, many laps, less than a half a second. And I know what it's like to be in both of those positions, trying to pressure that driver ahead to make mistakes and then being frustrated because they just won't make that mistake. And similarly, to be in the front and have somebody hounding you from the back. I made mention that you have that bright yellow car that can pretty much be seen from space. I'm sure seeing the Bumblebee behind them, you gave it your shot to try to shake Alex off of Alex's game, but unfortunately didn't work there. So you had to go to plan B, which was your fuel strategy game, and that seemed to work. You also made the black tires work really well despite that spin. Now you said, and you had a couple of moments. There were a couple little sideways moments during the race that gave some time back to the other drivers, but we saw lots of drivers struggling with that today. Even though the tires, it wasn't too hot today, didn't seem like they were falling off too much. Still, many drivers found it very difficult to be consistent on track. But hey, you just made it more exciting for us, to be honest. I mean, Will Lyon could have gone out there and won by 20 seconds with a fuel strategy win, but instead you made it real exciting by dropping back in the field and giving everyone else a chance. That was really kind of you. It was really exciting though at the end. Take us through that last 4 or 5 laps. You're watching on the relative timing, I'm sure. You're still probably fuel saving in that last bit, but then you realize that Alex Salmon's on red tires, trying to fly up behind you, trying to catching you a second a lap. You decide to start burning push to pass. Now, was that against your fuel saving desires to burn that? Were you doing that to match Alex? And what were you thinking as you're seeing Alex like really starting to close in on you?
Yeah, I'd saved enough fuel with about, I think it was about 4 laps to go, something like that. So I was trying to transition back into actually pushing again, which was really difficult because I was just, I've been fuel saving for 10 odd laps, whatever it was, and it was hard to actually get the confidence back in pushing again. And I think I'd saved about 5 to push the pass. So yeah, that's why I was using those, and I knew I had enough fuel to get to the end without having to stutter over the line. So yeah, it was just, I mean, there was times I think he was taking 2 seconds a lap out of me, even as I was pushing at the end there. So, yeah, I was very wary that if I made another mistake, if I spun, if I got a slowdown, which you can get some pretty harsh ones around here, I knew it would be pretty much game over. So, yeah, it was a little bit nerve-wracking. As I said, I just had that frustration hanging over me from the little spin I had. I'm just glad it wasn't worse because, yeah, if I had completely looped it and hadn't just drifted a bit, then that would have been the end of me probably. So yeah, it was an interesting race. We've never done fuel saving to really gain us massive amounts of time like we did today. So it was kind of chewing back into our endurance racing routes that we've done so many times in the LMP1s and the LMP2 as well from time to time. So it's we enjoy that element, just seeing if there is a strategy that we can exploit if we haven't quite got the pace to do it on our own. So it was good fun.
The complexity of these races and as you mentioned, doing the fuel saving and not having to necessarily employ that too much previously, but here it being a big factor. It's just amazing, all of these tools of the trade that you bring to the table and your years of experience paying off in a race like this. And there's also an adage going back a long ways, that the mark of a professional is that they know how to manage their mistakes. And being able to walk out of one of these slides without looping it, just knowing how to get the control of the car so that you can minimize those mistakes. Hey, you can't always be perfect, but if you do get it wrong, how can you minimize it? And that might have been just as equal for you getting this win today, just minimizing that, as you mentioned, than just the pure straight up strategy. But hey, what an awesome drive, Will. I think you may have taken over the points lead with this one. And I think you may also potentially have SMS Racing up there in the top of the points. We'll just have to see how this all breaks down. But a tight race going forward. You pretty excited for the last couple of rounds? You think you got something for Alex Salmon and the rest of the group?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I'll have okay pace at Interlagos. It's not a track I've done in IndyCar before, but I've done plenty of laps in GTs, prototypes as well. So I'm hoping I've got enough pace to, hopefully stay within a decent amount of distance from Alex. But Auto Club is I have no idea. I really need to get some practice in traffic, hopefully next week when we have a few practice sessions. And I just have to see how it goes. I think I've done one in an official race before. It would have been the Fix Series, I think. So I'll try and remember what I did around there, and try and get some, maybe watch some videos, see if there's anyone who's got some secrets up their sleeve that they can share.
Well, it should be a high flying survival race next week. High speed, high flying survival race. I know it's easy to skip over because you see those races on the calendar and you go, well, there's not much I can do to control that. But let me just ask you that. You still have to do it. I mean, you could skip the race, I guess, but if you want those points and you want to have maximum impact, you've got to do a race, even if it's a draft lock race like Auto Club. So realistically, what can you do to prepare for something like that? I mean, you're out of control as far as the draft lock portion of it, but will you go out there and do special testing and practice just to try to perfect your in-car tool adjustments and things like that? Will you do stint testing?
Yeah, well, the admins for this league set up 2 practice sessions. One, I think, is open for the public as well. So I'd encourage anyone who's thinking about joining this league in the future to go and jump in. I think it's on a Monday evening in the UK time. So if they jump in, they'll get some practice and see if they fancy it. So hopefully I'll get a bit of testing next week if I'm around after work, and that'll really be the plan. I guess I might try and do a few laps on my own as well and test the test sessions, and I suppose I can practice quali in those. But and play around with the ARBs and stuff. I didn't even touch them in this race. I'm kind of a bit lost at what actually works and what doesn't in this car. You read about how they're supposed to work, and sometimes it's like, God, I don't even feel like it's working that way. So we'll just see it. I mean, I'll just try and stay on the lead lap. I think that's all I can do at the Oval, and if I do that, at least I'll score some points. So that's the aim.
Well, try to keep it on the track. And it's a little confusing. Sometimes it wants to behave the way that it's supposed to. And sometimes you're like, is this the same car that I've been racing for a couple of years now? Hey, Will, fantastic job today. Amazing strategy to pull it off. And we'll look forward to seeing some of that more brilliant strategy in racing going forward. Excellent job, and congratulations on your victory and possible points lead.
Thanks, Trevor. Catch you next time. Absolutely.
My pleasure. Will Lyon joining us on broadcast again as a victor in Victory Circle, bringing that yellow Husinkfeld SMS racing machine into first once again. And so that is going to do it for us here on the broadcast. It's been an absolute pleasure to call this one. It was round 8, season 1 at Silverstone, the Prime Meridian Racing League. Again, my name's Trevor Greenfield. It's been a pleasure being with you all day long, and thank you so much to everybody who showed up in the YouTube chat. Appreciate all the regulars coming out and chatting with us, and we'll make sure we get that track map up there every time for Gale. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time from Auto Club. Make sure to tune in next Wednesday, and if you're a prospective driver who wants to join this series, check out that Monday night practice session, or Monday practice session, depending on where you're at in the world,
It is going to be hosted, I believe, open to the public. So anybody who has an iRacing account wants to get in and run with these drivers and get out there and see if they have the pace and try on the group, head on over and check it out in the leagues and in the hosted sessions, on Monday night. In the meantime, we'll see you next Wednesday. Same VirtualRacing.Network time, same VirtualRacing.Network channel. 8:35 p.m. British Standard Time, 3:35 Eastern Time. We'll see you next week. So for now, on behalf of myself, Trevor, Virtual Racing Network, and all the competitors and admin here at PMRL, bye-bye for now.